This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Brian, and once again, I am one half of a great podcast here with
Mark.
That's right. We are brought to you in part by the Deluxe Edition Network. We're on that network, and as well as a lot of other great podcasts. And Mark, we have two of them that are podcast of the month.
We have Barrel Age Flicks, which is, go check them out. You'll get a kick out of those guys. And then you have History I'd Like to Fuck. And well,
that's Mark's favorite.
Yes, it is one of my favorites right now. She's got some very good ones out there, especially her last few. Go check them out.
Tonight we are going to introduce you guys to another brand new podcaster on our network, and that is The Broken System. Robert, you want to bring him on in?
You just didn't want to say his last name.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Robert, you want me to butcher it? I will.
No, that's okay.
I was thinking Parmer or
he can't do it either.
I've gotten so used to people calling me Palmer. Just I
It's
grew up
Parmer?
in the '80s. Yeah, it's Parmer with a P.
Parmer. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up in the '80s. So there was Robert Palmer through my whole existence for elementary and middle school. Yes, exactly.
So Robert, congratulations on coming into the network, and we think that you're going to make a really good addition. Before we came on, we were talking about how you were doing your shows. You have your very first episode will drop when?
Thursday, May 4th. It'll be that'll be my first episode. I've got a couple preview episodes out there about what I'm doing, but I'm putting the finishing touches on those first couple episodes, and I'll get them dropping each week, starting the first week of May.
Cool. I can't wait to hear them, especially from what I've heard. Brian, you forgot to ask one serious question.
What's that, Mark?
How he was doing today.
Man, you're absolutely right. Robert, I apologize. The very first question we should always ask our guests is, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
That's good.
Robert was a very last minute. He volunteered for this, so I'm happy. Oh, goddamn dogs!
Hey, Robert, you fucked up. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I hear the dogs in the background. I'm so worried about mine. I told my wife, I was like, look, you got to keep them downstairs. They're all three sitting there right outside of my door right now.
No, actually, that was my son. Not
okay.
My dogs. I thought it was my dogs, but my son decided to clean his room today. It's taken him all day.
Nice.
But why did you want to start doing this podcast?
So I've always listened to true crime, and it's kind of been like everybody. It's something to do when we listen to it. About 2 years ago, I started listening to a podcast, and I won't talk about the name of it, but it just turned into a shit show from each year to each year that it went through, and it honestly made me realize what shouldn't be done on a podcast. So about this time last year, I started, thinking, hey, I could do this. If all these people that can do it, that make all these mistakes, I can come do it right. So that was my mindset anyway. Now, a year later, I'm still wondering what I'm doing. But so as I looked at it, I started thinking, okay, what can I do, and what type of cases should I do? And I went through everything, and I looked at everybody, and everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that. And I wanted to find something that I was passionate about, something that was one close to home, something that was local to me, and I started the podcast with a mindset of, okay, people read the name and they hear broken system. Oh no, he's going to bash the police. He's going to bash this. He's going to bash that. And it's absolutely not that. It's actually kind of the opposite. It's more to show where the flaws are at in the system, in an overall system. And I came across DJ's case, and I was just, as I read through it, I just couldn't believe what the situation was and what had happened, and his sister, what she's went through trying to get everything done for him and changed for him. And and it just, it was something that just, it tugged on my heart, and I knew that it was something that I had to get into. And it's kind of just went from there.
Can you tell us about DJ's case? I know that's
Yeah.
probably going to be one of your first ones that you do, but tell us a little bit about it. You don't have to tell us everything, just a little bit. So, because I'm curious
No,
on that one.
I'm good. So on October 3rd of 2016, and I'm gonna just put it bluntly, he was murdered. It was, and I'll kind of go into the reasoning is the things that I look at is it's been socioeconomic for him. He was a drug addict, and just kind of that wrong path, the things that just everything that could possibly happen went wrong in his life. And there was a phone call that came in. He was having some issues. His wife, you'll hear about that in the podcast. And there was a 911 call that came through that said there was a suicide. So this call came through. The police came to the scene, initially started investigating it as a suicide, sent the information when the body was recovered to the coroner as a suicide. But as they investigated it, they started realizing, wow, there's no way that this is a suicide. In the state of Georgia, it's a little weird. The town that they're in, it's called Flintstone, Georgia. It's very small, if you can imagine. All those cases get sent to the GBI to be investigated. Well, they took the information that was given in that initial on-site as a suicide. When she made her ruling, she ruled it as death by suicide on the death certificate. 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they start realizing, the investigators are realizing, okay, there's more to this. And then it goes from there to the just complete battle to physically get the death certificate changed. And we're going to go through, obviously I'm going to go through the timeline, talk about everything. We're going to go through the 911 tapes. There's actually 3 different 911 tapes from where he would hang up the phone. And you guys know LaDonna Humphrey with Deep Dark Secrets. Yep. She came on and helped me go through the 911 tapes because, as I got into this, I started realizing it's hard to ask yourself a question when you're going through something. Am I supposed to stop and say, hey, did you hear that? But so I brought her in and she listened to it with me. And then I don't know if you guys have heard of Music City 911. Brandon, he basically is a 911 operator in Nashville, and that's his show. And I brought him in and he listened to them and kind of described to me what from his aspect of a 911 operator should have happened, or what did happen and why it happened the way that it did. So we're able to get some clarity that way. We're going to go through the autopsy. We're going to go through, basically everything about the case step by step. And now let me tell you, Amanda, who is DJ's sister, she has been, I'm talking about, she's a bulldog. She's been on this since the day that it happened, and has been adamant that he did not commit suicide. And when everybody hears this, they're going to realize he absolutely didn't. And why isn't this being being moved any further? But in that, she's had an uphill battle, and she's went to, if you go through and you search DJ Ficky through the podcast system, she's probably been on 20 to 25 podcasts and you know, some of the big ones, you know, Invisible Choir, Murderish, you know, all of those guys, they all did small little episodes about this case. They did 45 minutes. And I didn't feel like that anywhere near did it the justice that it needed, because you get little tidbits of the information. There's, you know, investigation discovery did a small little show, but it, once again, it just very gets into it, and it doesn't really do justice to what they need, and that's what I'm here for, is hopefully to get the name out there, to get, you know, I tag the DA and I tag the sheriff in every single post. If you go on my post on Instagram, everything I post, they're tagged, because I
want
want
them to
them to
see
let
it?
them. I want them to let them know I'm coming. And they know they won't talk to me. So just a little bit more background. 2 years ago, 2020, I believe, it was changed. The death certificate was finally changed from suicide to undetermined. So it's a positive step, but not enough of a step for him and the family. And then, you know, the sheriff gets on and he gets his moment on the news and says, you know, that it's not enough for it to be changed to that, you know, he's still not going to follow it up anymore. So, you know, we're here to be a thorn in his side. They won't talk to me, obviously, because as soon as it was changed from suicide to undetermined, it becomes an open case, and that's their reasoning behind not talking to me, is, oh, it's an open case, so we're still actively investigating it.
Now
So
you
it
talk
gives them the opportunity to move away from trying
right,
to discuss anything, what they want.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Now you said that he was married and stuff. Is his wife not you know, wanting justice for him too? Because it just seems like his sister is wanting more justice than his wife.
So you'll see, as we go into the issues, that you know, basically where he was at was because of her. A lot of the drug issue came from with her. Um, he had actually went to rehab, was getting better. They had 3 kids together. He loved her and he wanted to be with her. So when she would put herself in a bad situation, he would go with her because he didn't want her to be
Okay.
unsafe. And then in that, there was some entanglement with this other person that we'll call, you know, person of interest. Um, which you'll hear a lot about him as we go through. I can't
And
say his name. I can't say his name, but we'll
now I
we'll,
can't
we'll
wait
talk
to
about
hear
it
that
enough.
one.
Yep.
Damn.
It's going to be a very, very interesting jump off to your show, man. That's some story right now.
How many episodes is that story going to be?
I started out with it probably being 5 or 6, but the what I've gotten through just with the timeline and the 911 tapes is already 3 episodes. Um, so it's probably going to be 12 to 15 episodes before we get to the resolutions of what we need to get done.
I could see a next Netflix documentary here.
Yeah, and it really is something that needs to be pushed and pointed. And the one stigma that I've got to get everybody away from is, okay, and this is kind of where the system being broken is that you have someone that is just a middle class person that this happens to. It's easy for people to grab a hold of it. You know, you see it in the news every day. You see all of these people grabbing a hold of the cases that are out there that are, you know, high profile names and things like that. But when you add drugs and things like that into the system, people have a bad rap and just kind of push that stuff to the side as, oh, you know, they deserved it. They, you know, they shouldn't have put themselves in that situation. So that's what I want to change. I want to be able to make sure that people understand that it's not their fault, you know, and we want to make sure that stigma is taken off of them and they're treated like everybody else, that, you know, everybody else is getting justice for their family members, and even the ones that aren't getting justice, but the names are out there and it's being spoken about all the time. We want to get this out there and we want to get it spoken about.
Well, this is just one of the cases that you're going to look into. Is there other ones that you've got your eyes on?
Yes, and kind of it's kind of an odd situation, because when I went into this case, it was more about the case, not the situation, if that makes sense. But since I've started posting and people have realized what I'm doing, there's so many people that's reached out to me with the same type of situation. You know, it's and I don't want people to take this the wrong way. It's a lot of times it's very hard on a family to have someone in their family commit suicide, and I understand that, and people don't want to believe that their family could do that, but unfortunately, it does happen. But I'm
Um,
fine.
I'm
I'm
living
sorry.
proof. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm living proof. My
yeah.
father killed himself,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hate to
and
hear that.
that is something that I believe. I can't say somebody else did it or anything else. He's the one that stuck the knife through his chest, and that's how it happened. But in your case, how it is, it's totally different because you have evidence to back all that stuff, or all of it up.
Yep. And in doing this, I've had quite a few people reach out to me, um and I've I have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. I have to take it and I have to look at the situation and look at and there's three other cases that I'm looking at right now that are, glaringly, wow, that this is amazing that this was treated this way, that it was closed up and buttoned up and put to the side. And a lot of times I feel like it, and once again, I'm pro police and I believe everything they do, but sometimes it's just easier for them to check a box and walk away from something than it is to go further into it. And that's what we're here for, is to try to help get that out there and get some of these people, justice for what they need and what their families are.
So there was something that drew you to this particular story, um, and I'm sure that you're going to go into that on your first show as well. But can you tell us, or just give us a little insight of maybe what actually drew you into it?
Honestly, Amanda, DJ's sister, she is so passionate about she was so passionate about it before I had even heard or started seeing the 911 tapes and looking at all the case file and all of that. Um, she was just so passionate about the situation and what had happened, and that she just drew me in. And also, I looked at I wanted to be able to be a part of the community that I'm in. I'm from Atlanta, and this happened just north of Atlanta, and I wanted to be able to make sure that it was something close to home that I could be involved in, that I could have, I can go knock on a door. I'm not going to go knock on a door, um, as I can be a thorn in the DA's side by tagging him in every single post that I make. I can be a thorn in checking in at the courthouse, at their office on every post that I make. So you'll see that you'll be like, he made a post. Why did he check in there? Oh, you know, that's at their legal office that represents that county. So, those are the things that I want to be able to make sure to do that, and just to be able to be a part of it. So, it 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 really just, I wish I could say this is the reason why, but after I looked at 20 or 30 things, this one just kept every day driving home to me. This is what you need to do. This is the person you need to talk about. This is what you need to be, bringing up.
Wow. Was So with this, what do you do when you're not doing this? When you're not doing your investigations, when going out and talking to people, what do you do in your normal everyday life?
I'm a construction manager. I'm project manager for a construction company here in Atlanta.
So you get to see ins and outs of different facilities and places like that.
Yep.
So I'm sure that you've been to the courthouse and those places.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's cool. That is really cool.
Are you just picking cases of people that are, let's say, are you know dead, or are you picking cases like incarcerated people that believe that like the Innocent Projects and stuff like that? Are you?
When I originally started it, I kind of wanted to be an advocate for that type of stuff, but it's kind of refocused me in a different direction, almost to the point that I have to change the description of my show, because it's not so much about that. Mine is more. I really have a feel and a pull towards people that are of a lower income, a lower stature, and that just can't get the justice that they deserve because of that reason. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that's in the court systems right now, and somebody that has money with this same situation, it would have played out totally different.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yep, and so to me, that's an unfair system for everybody should have the same ability to the legal system. Everybody should have the same same abilities to and it goes back to what you were saying about people incarcerated that shouldn't be. Had they had a different attorney that didn't tell them to take a deal because they needed to get on to the next case, they plead guilty and never have the chance uh, to fight it because they waive all those rights because they pled guilty. So it goes back into that same thing, and that's kind of where I probably will be centered and focused. Will be, in this avenue of getting people's out there, people's information out there that nobody else can get out there because people are looking to the side. They're not thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you're going to have a really good intro to your first show, because that just a little tiny piece that you were telling us. I mean, I'm already hooked into knowing, like, oh, okay, what happens next? I'm already starting to get hooked on it. So
Yeah, I really feel that once that I give the energy and time into breaking this down, there's going to be so many people yelling and screaming for them to get justice for him that it's going to be, it won't be a little bitty crowd anymore. It's going to be a very big crowd.
Yep. Mark, we have some friends and stuff like that. We got some of those folks in common that have seen the inside of the jail, have been police officers, that kind of stuff.
We've had friends that were a warden in a jail, guards, even attorneys. But
yeah,
we just don't. We don't ask questions about their jobs neither, because I know can't be easy doing their jobs as it is, especially when it comes to somebody passing away. That can't be one easy job. And I even have friends. I have a few friends that are incarcerated too, but that's for something else, and that's one of the reasons why I was asking that question.
Yep. And I mean, I'm willing and able to take a look at everything. I'm not going to be, because like I said, this wasn't how I went into this originally as it was. So as things come to me and I see and talk to people, I'm absolutely, and as I grow this to where I want it to be, and I go to these, I'll be going to Arkansas, to the Northwest Arkansas Crime Convention, and I'll be at CrimeCon. As I grow those things and I find these things and I'm able to help, it's going to be unlimited for me. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not helping somebody if it tugs on my heartstrings.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. That's where I'm always at in my life. But a lot of stuff does tug at my heartstrings, and I think that's you got people in this world that have souls, and you got people that are soulless, dude. So you got to figure out who's who between everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and you, even in the being a cop or something like that, there's not 100% of great cops out there. You're gonna have great cops, you're gonna have good cops, bad cops, etc. I mean, that chain just builds too.
Yeah, I mean that's in every aspect of life. You're gonna have, no matter what the profession is, no matter what it is, there are going to be good people that have intentions of doing the right thing, and then you have people that just get through the day, and then you've got people that go into each day looking to do the worst possible thing, and get by with it, until they can't get by with it anymore.
Yeah. I think that's almost every job that you go to as well.
Yep.
Whether you have upper management or sergeant or whatever, So yeah, I totally understand that. How did you come up with the name itself for the show?
So, I was looking through, and a lot of it is to go through and search the, go to Apple Podcast and plug in the different names that I was thinking about, and I just hit up on it, and it just it felt right when there's a couple brokens and there's some things like that, but to come to the broken system. There's actually a podcast called The Broken System. That's why it's called The Broken System Podcast. But it just felt like it was the right thing. And once again, it kind of goes back to it started one way. It really did. It started with, let's talk about all these things in law and the juries and things like that. Let's talk about how all that's broken. And then it morphed into what it is. So it's almost a different type of broken system that I've started looking at. That's totally different. And everything that happened in his case is it wasn't like it was I don't want to say it was intentional. They fought it in certain ways, but the way that it happened, it was just situational. Going to the GBI, and you'll find out that the medical examiner that did everything had only been on the job for 6 months. So she was a new medical examiner, hadn't really done a lot of autopsies, and so when it came in, she read what it was and how it happened, and that's what she stuck with. So that happened, and then as the investigators get further and further into it, they start realizing, oh wait, this isn't what happened. There's a lot more to this, and then it's too far gone, and then they're fighting between each other, and they can't get it changed back, and one saying they're right, one saying they're wrong, then they're both agreeing, and it's kind of crazy.
I just don't. That's one thing I don't understand. How can somebody, say suicide, and then it goes to undetermined? I mean, you would figure that it would go from suicide to homicide or murder, whichever that they put on it there.
No, because I think undetermined would still be like, hey, this could be a suicide. It could have been anything.
Right. Well, they're not saying, they're not saying that it is a suicide. They're not saying it's murder.
Right.
They're just saying undetermined for right now. But you eventually have to come up with something for it.
Right. And I think that's where the problem lies. And that's where I think that and it sounds cliche, but that's where the system's broken. There's no defined way of, okay, we made a mistake. Now, how do we fix that mistake?
Oh, they don't want to admit it.
They don't want to admit it. No. And I mean, and you can understand it. She's new in her career. It's, she doesn't want to say, I just listened to what the paperwork said when it came in.
Yeah, because she'll probably lose her job.
Yeah, or any credibility she has. Yeah, there's so much credibility issues.
And with this world that we live in, everybody's sue happy as it is, but she's worrying about that. She's worrying about her credibility. She's also worrying about keeping her job. If she's listening to just what they put on the report, then she shouldn't have a job anyways.
Exactly, and I agree with that. And I think it's more of she's CYAing in an aspect of how many other autopsies has she done, that if she admits she made a mistake, will they go back and start saying, okay, she did 5 more and 3 people were convicted for this, so now we need to reopen this and look at it. So
exactly.
I think that's where, and to me, that is where the system just fails, because it's not getting DJ his justice. It's not getting someone else their justice, because she made a mistake and she doesn't want to admit it.
Right. And it goes along with the police, the judges, and all that. As soon as you say, okay, I made a mistake in this one, it's going to take all the other cases that they've ever had underneath them, and it's going to reopen them up and it's going to be a big long thing and a lot of money that they're going to say that it, they're going to come up with something to say, oh, that's going to cost this much, and if we find out that this person's actually innocent, it's going to cost us even more because we have to pay them, and so they're going to try to kick their feet around until they have no choice.
Yep. And you look at so 5 years later, happened in 2016, like 5 years, they changed it from suicide to undetermined. So now you look at it from the legal side of things, and I can understand where the prosecutor has a problem, because now he has to go back and say, okay, here we go. Now we don't believe that it was this, so let's do this. So then you're going to have an attorney come in on the defensive side of it, take his case and be like, oh no, but they said it was suicide. So, so now there's going to be a battle of, okay, what was it? How was it? And, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, it gets harder and harder to prosecute these things. So, had it happened 6 months later, it would have been much easier. But now you're 7 years out, 7 years removed. Now you're fighting a bunch of other battles of, okay, can we prosecute this? Can we make it stick? Is an attorney going to come in and just wear us out because now we've changed everything, and you've got these conflicting statements, and you've got all of this kind of stuff. So
you also have DNA, if there is any DNA.
So that's
probably something else that you talk about.
Yeah, so some of the things, and one of the things that I had to understand was in the 911 tape, they told the guy that called to move the gun out of the way. And I didn't understand it, but I'm thankful that I was able to get Brandon on from his show, and he explained it to me. In the 911 call, the caller admits that he already touched the gun. So at that point in time, they're trying to make sure everything's safe, and they tell him, okay, he's already admitted to touching the gun. Let's just get it out of the way and make sure it's clear and safe. But there were no fingerprints on the gun at all.
So he moved it because he wiped his prints off of it? I mean, that's...
Yeah, and
that's goofy.
It's really convenient that where it's the picture's at sitting beside a bottle of bleach.
Oh, wow.
We'll share some of this stuff. Yeah.
Dude, now I can't wait to hear I really can't wait to hear this shit.
Yep. So, there's little things that we can talk about. DJ was right-handed. It was a 12-gauge shotgun that a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun that was used. It came at a downward angle from the left-hand side. So he would have had to pull the trigger.
If you're going to kill yourself, you're not going to do it from up here. You're going to do it from down here.
Exactly. So, yeah, there's so many things.
I mean, 12 gauge right there alone. I mean, putting that up there, with one hand itself is hard. So I can't see, how
doing that and pulling a trigger. He was sitting down. He was sitting down.
How tall was he?
Which one? The other person or DJ? That's something I don't know. That's one of the details I'm not sure of.
Because I mean, how tall he is, and depends on. And the other guy, if he's standing up already and DJ's down, that would make it point blank. That's why he was pointed downwards.
Yeah, DJ was sitting in a chair.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Mark. How like the blood would have been more upward if it's somebody standing up, and more downward if he's shooting this way.
Right. Even with the 12 gun, can you take a 12 gun, being that your size,
12 gauge,
12 gauge, sorry, and take it and do it the way that was?
I don't think that you. So you're. It's kind of weird because of trigger placement and all that stuff, and how you got to turn your wrist in. So
that's what I'm saying.
To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think that.
I would say take a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun with your dominant hand and hold it straight out and pull the trigger, and try how hard it would be to do that just with one hand.
Mm.
So if you do it with your non-dominant hand at a downward angle, it's
even like 10 times harder. Yeah, because you're not. I mean, unless you're, like I said, ambidextrous or something like that. And
he wasn't.
Yeah, I am. But
Yep.
that's with almost everything except writing and eating.
Yep.
That's it. I do everything with both hands except for. But it's still, even shooting a gun, I shoot. My more dominant hand is my left hand.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. There's a lot of evidence that it looks like you're getting ready to uncover. A lot of stuff that
people are not
got
going to
missed.
No, and the thing and what we're going to do is we're going to break it down episode by episode. We're going to take one portion. We're going to go, the first episode will be timeline. I'm going to break down through the timeline. We'll talk to Amanda, his sister, and kind of go through and make DJ a person. We want everybody to understand that DJ was a person. He wasn't his demons. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a son. And we want everybody to understand that going into the whole thing. And then we'll go straight down the timeline into episode 2 will be the 911 tapes. From there, we're going to go to the investigation on site. We're going to go through the police reports. As we go through the police reports, obviously we're going to throw in the multiple interviews that they did at the police station with this person. Interviews in jail with other people that were on site but not on site. So that's another nice one for you. There was only supposed to be 3 people there, but there ended up at when you got into everything, there was 6.
Let me ask you, have you gotten kicked out of like the sheriff's office or the courthouses because people know who you are?
No, not yet. I haven't gotten that much of a thorn in the side yet. So partly because everything is reopened, I'm trying to tread a ground that just makes them know, okay, look, we're going to start pointing this stuff out to where, where the sheriff can't say, well, there's just not enough evidence there. We're going to show where there's enough evidence that people are going to start saying, why aren't you proceeding, or why aren't you pursuing this?
Yeah, from what you just told us, with the gun placement and all that, there's enough evidence right there to show you that it wasn't suicide.
Yep.
And are you guys presenting new evidence that hasn't been caught?
No, that's the thing. This is all in the police file. This is, up until 2 years ago when they changed the determination, this was freedom of information. You could get all this information. So everything that I have, they have.
Was any of that? So none of that information was ever redacted. So any reports that went in there, none of that information was redacted?
No, because it was a suicide. The only things that were redacted were, obviously birth dates and social security numbers and phone numbers and things like that.
Okay. So everybody's getting to see the same information. You guys are trying to break it down and explain how that got there, or
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, just even through the 911 calls, when you hear, like I said, what we spent, I couldn't believe how much time we ended up spending on just the 3 911 calls that are 7 minutes long. It's about a 55 minute episode, just talking about the 911 calls, because we stop, we go into it, we listen to a little bit of it, we stop it, and we break it down. Did you hear this? Did you hear this? What did you hear here? Because there's lots of things in the background. There's lots of things that are happening, and just when you listen to it slowly, instead of listening to a 2-minute 911 call real quick all the way through, and you go back and you play it and say, okay, let's listen to this again. You hear these things, and you hear these conversations in the background, and you hear why he hangs up the phone when DJ's wife is screaming in the background. All of a sudden the phone hangs up, and 911 has to call him back. He doesn't call back to 911. So
now, let me ask you, do you think a lot of your listeners, once they get to hear the story, you think that you're going to get a lot of people reaching back, or that one person that reaches back and is like, hey, wait, I think you missed this too?
Yeah, I think so. And that was one thing that Brandon is doing, is he's got a little bit more, he's a little bit more savvy with software. He's going to take and try to get rid of some of the I call it noise in the 911 call, because in the 911 call, you've got, the 911 operator, you've got the person that's calling, you've got everything in the background of what's happening on scene and what's happening in the 911. So a lot of times things will overlap each other in conversation. So he's going to try to break some of that down and pull some of that out. Um, and then, LaDonna, she's like, I'm invested in this now. I need to know, we need to talk about this more, because, that she's passionate about this stuff. And she's like, we're gonna fight for this, and we're gonna do it. So yeah. And that's just with, two people that I've really brought in. And now you guys, you guys are like, okay, we need to hear more about this, and we need to know more about this. So I think once people start latching onto it, if I can do a good enough job, and I hope I do, to get my point across and get DJ's story out there, that people are going to latch onto it, and it's going to start, even more so than what Amanda's done. And she's tired. She's pushed really hard for a long time to get this stuff changed, and I'm just here to help her.
It always helps to have somebody on your side to help you go through this, and make sure that it's done right, and basically have an advocate for her.
Yep.
Alone.
Yeah, I think you're going to do a fantastic job for this one, and I think that you are going to get more invites to going on to other shows so that people can hear about it. So I look forward to where you're going to grow from here. I really do. I really think that there is going to be a lot of information and stuff that's going to come out that other people are going to be like, hey, we want to get in on, we've heard it. This is what we hear too,
Yep, I appreciate it. I hope so. I mean, and that's the goal is to get it out there as much as possible, to get people talking about it, getting, instead of just me tagging the sheriff and the DA, having, 100 people posting stuff, tagging them, and just, starting to be a thorn in their side, to where they've got to do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, we don't want to give away the whole story, because we want all of our listeners and your listeners, and Deep Dark Secrets listeners, we want everybody to get a hold of it. So we don't want to give a whole lot away, because we want them to watch your show. So let's move back just a few. We talked about you just a little bit. Let's talk about you just a little bit more.
Okay.
Give us a little bit more information about why you chose to get into being on our network. Like, you got an invite, basically?
I actually searched you guys out because I was looking for, being a new podcast, it's hard. You start joining all these Facebook groups, and you start trying to, all these people are reaching out to you, and I started searching for something that I could be a part of, that would give back to me as I could give to them. And that's one thing that I like about the network, is that it's not about money. It's not about, what can I do? What can you only do for me? It's about, hey, how can we help each other? Just it is to the point of, okay, you guys said, hey, can somebody jump on tonight with us? Yeah, let's do it. Or to the, I'm new, I have questions. Hey, how can you do that? How can I do this? Or how can I make this better? And, just even from the promo that I had and things like that, being able to work through that with Casey and things like that, trying to get that information of how can I do this better to where it sounds better, and people there to help do that. So that's really what it came down to, was finding a group that I could be a part of, that's established and growing, and people that are willing to help, and I enjoy listening to you guys' shows, all of them. There's not one that I've played yet, and I've went through them all to listen to, and there's everything from funny to serious to to just, wow, they're talking about that.
And he still came on our show.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's what we do. We get together, we talk about shit. And it could be a great topic. It could bring you up, keep you happy. We want to give everybody that's watching an opportunity to get a little piece of every insight that, like, me and Mark get into. And I mean, it's a lot of fun. Mark is seriously into wrestling. And if I have to do another damn wrestling show, no, I'm just kidding, Mark.
You got another one coming up, so don't worry. No, I mean, I like wrestling. I like true crimes. I like sports, stuff like that. And then listening to again, I'm going to promote this one all to hell this month, anyways. History I'd Like to Fuck. I mean, she's got some great ones, especially her latest ones are really good.
I laughed so hard when she had her mom and her sisters on.
Yeah, that's
I was telling my wife about that. I was like, you've got to go listen to this because she looked at it and she's like, what in the world is this? And I'm like, trust me, you need to go listen to it because once you listen to it, you're gonna be like, oh, that's crazy.
The History of the Vibrator. That one was a good one.
Oh yeah.
And then
I couldn't imagine sitting talking about my mom about anything like that. I couldn't do it.
I could.
No, Mark.
Yeah.
No, Mark's mom. We could have talked about anything because she was cool. Mark's mom was like, "What are you boys fucking tonight or something?" I'm like, "Whoa, hold on."
My mom
she never used the F word. She always said, "What are you guys going to go screw up now or mess with or something like that?" But no, just some of the other ones on here. When we came on here, Casey helped me with everything. Set us up with a lot of different things, and we were just brand new a couple months back. And
we're still brand new. Don't let them lie. We're just
yeah, but not as brand new as him. Anyways, when I seen that you said, sure, you'd come on, so I went to check your stuff out, and I'm like, okay, and I'm listening to your intro, and I'm like, shit, okay. And the first thing that you talked about was DJ, and that was one of my questions was was about DJ, and well, you definitely answered that one for the most part. And but reason why I chose the network is because they give you free reign and they help, like you said. It's not about money, never has been, never will be. At least I hope never will be. But everything else, everybody's been great.
Yeah, we throw those open floors out too. So every once in a while, you'll see an open spot and hey, just come on the show and let's just chit chat for a few minutes. We do that just because we're trying to get that, that system moving and have guests from other shows come on and just pop in and be like, hey man, what's happening?
That's exactly
about?
Yeah. That's really the main thing. We want to try to get some of the people from the network to come on, plug their shows, and then they can leave if they want. They can, talk shit with us. We can come up with a topic and talk, but we prefer somebody else to come up with the topic at the time to talk about.
Absolutely.
And that was the main. We do a lot of interviews, but we'd really like to see at least once a month have a open forum every month just to see what people would do, what people would say, but it hasn't caught on a whole lot yet.
I mean, Steven is a very big advocate of ours, and Steven and
Steven Jarvis
Kyle,
and friends.
And Kyle Flett. Man, these guys have supported the hell out of us, and we couldn't be happier. Mark was actually a part of the Steven Jarvis and Friends podcast, and that's how he ended up doing this.
Okay.
And I, at the time I told Steven it was only going to be a short run, anyways, and he knew. So, but when you get a chance, to check out some of his stuff, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to sports.
Okay.
Or horror, or
he's a video game guy too.
Yeah, video game. He loves his Minnesota teams. I'll tell you that right now. He loves his Minnesota team. He'll be the first to bash them too, but he loves them.
It's hard to be a fan sometimes.
Oh yes, I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
I'm Atlanta Falcons. So
Falcons.
At least we have the Braves. That's what matters.
And I'm a Steelers fan, so
yeah, you can't. You just have to be quiet over there. You can't say anything about one or two bad years.
Oh no, we've had some. I mean, I look forward to what's going to happen with with the new team that we're building right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Mike Tomlin has gone out of his way to select some excellent talent. So I'm not gonna tell everybody go watch the Steelers. So I'll stop.
But Detroit has stole a few of your players away too. So.
I know.
And I'm hoping that everybody drinks the Kool-Aid, and I hope that Detroit can actually win for once. But I'm not.
Hey, I would rather either win a lot or lose a lot instead of being like the Falcons and just being mediocre.
Yeah, but at least your team went to the Super Bowl. Mine hasn't even seen it.
Yeah, but then it's like 28. We lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I would rather have not ever went. I would have rather have just been at home watching another team that weekend.
Yeah, the Dirty Birds, that team, they were really good.
Yeah, they were. It was a great team, and just to just blow it, and it just it still eats us alive.
Yeah,
poor Minnesota over here sitting 0-4 in the Super Bowl.
Well, they're with the Bills.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
But yeah, if Steven ever has you on his, he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Like Kyle, what's the other one? Barrel Aged Flicks podcast. I told them that I wanted to do one with them, and they said, okay, we just got to figure out a time and date. So that's a good one. And I'm still trying to.
Mark is going to hurt himself for being stitches. I'm not sure yet what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I don't drink, so that's going to be an interesting one. There's just a drinking one. I tried getting Casey, but Casey, we're going to have to work around him. So we're going to go on his show on the deluxe edition.
Yep. He's busy. He stays.
Oh yeah, he's always in California. He told me one time how many airline miles he has. Man, I'll take a couple thousand of those.
Yep. He makes me laugh because he'll be like, "I'm busy. I'll answer a little later," and then like 2 minutes later, he'll answer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I thought you were busy.
I'm like, I need help doing this way, especially with the intro. I was like, man, I need help with this, and he's like, I'll get back to you once I'm done. 5 minutes later, he was like, here's your intro. Son of a bitch. Man, cool. Casey's awesome though. Without it was interesting. One of our guests we had, he was a tarot card reader or a medium tarot. He did all that.
Psychic medium.
Psychic
yes.
medium. I'm sorry. And he told Casey 2 years before he had him on. Casey had him on his show 2 years prior to him being on ours, and he told Casey he was going to be doing something good and helping a lot of people. And he didn't realize what the guy meant. And then I pointed it out to him. I said, look, you have the network and you're helping people.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's been such a great avenue for me. Just to be, I've seen my Instagram grow because of it. I've seen even on the previews, the 2 previews that I have, to where I would get, when I would release the previews, I would get a bunch of downloads and then stop. Every day now, my downloads are still growing because of the network and because of people are sharing it, and because it's Casey's putting it in stories probably 100 times a day, all of us, so it's been a great.
Yeah, especially when you're and I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Especially when you're close to a goal, and he really wants to push it, and which is awesome.
Yep. Now, are you doing anything on TikTok? Are you doing any small clips or anything like that so people get hooked in on that?
Not yet. I've been hesitant about it just because I don't know how good at it I'll be. So I guess I need to figure it out a little bit and try to see how to adapt it into TikTok, I guess.
So I think with TikTok, you can record from your phone and then just go and make some snippets. Like you can, if there's
as long as if his is under an hour, he could put the whole damn thing on there.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that's That's been one of my questions here lately is how long should my episode be? Because you never know. Is it 30 minutes? Is it 45? What's that sweet spot? But I guess you just you put in what you think and kind of go for
Yeah.
it.
So
Just
we
don't do
typically,
it.
we
don't do
typically
it.
do an hour. We typically do an hour, but let's see, our last
Our last one
interview,
was 2.5 hours.
I
2.5
saw that.
hours.
I saw that. I was like, oh my God, I hope they don't think I can talk for 2.5 hours because
No.
I'm not
When
that
you have when you have a panel like that, that's when
Yeah.
it lasts longer.
I'm
And
like,
it
I'm
was
not
about,
that interesting.
yeah, it was about 2.5 hours, and it was great because
That's awesome.
Everybody was catching up with other folks. I live in Florida. Mark lives here in Florida. I've got those friends of mine. One lives in San Diego. One lives over in Nevada. No, two in San Diego. So
yeah.
they're, everybody's across the U.S. right now, and it's just like, oh man. The very first time I asked Andy to be on, one of my good friends who does, he's got a big TikTok following for an app. What is that app, Mark? Paired.
Paired, yeah.
The app Paired. He is
Okay.
he's like their one of their spokespeople for it, and it is fantastic.
It's
so
funny. Him and his wife are freaking funny on it, and he'll say something, towards that, towards the question and the answer, and then his wife will give something completely opposite out of the ballpark, and you can't help but laugh.
Yeah, like I find Ryan Reynolds on my bed, and that makes me happy. It's like,
right.
You're like, what the hell?
Yeah,
and he's like, and you will be sorry.
That's funny.
He's great, man. He really is. And then you've got Trevor. Trevor doesn't do podcasts, man, but Trevor stepped in.
No, he should though.
And he absolutely should. This guy was great. He talked to us for almost 2 hours as well, I think.
Well, the first one, yeah, because Andy didn't know how to tell time.
So yeah,
and
if you ever have a guest come on, make sure they know what time zone you live in. So we're EST, and that means Eastern Standard Time Zone.
I had to look again just to make sure. I was like, is that because and that's one of the things that happens with me and Amanda, because she's in Alabama, so she's an hour behind, and I'll say, oh, be on at 8:30, and she's like, okay, great, that's perfect. And I'm like at 8:30 going, where is she? And I'll text her. She's like, it's only 7:30. I'm like, oh man, we've got to get this straight.
That was great. We got it all figured out though. Now
Good.
I think everybody are on the same page, and I just make sure that we reiterate that. So if we ever send a thing to a guest, we are always on at a certain time, and that's going to be 8 p.m. Unless we tell you that episode, like, hey, we're not going to do an episode or something, or we're not going to be on at 8. But typically we're on at 8.
That's awesome.
We're right on 8.
And that's what, that's one of the things I want to do with my podcast is I want to make sure that I get, and that's why I want to do the 3 episodes in the bank, because I want to release every week at the same time so people can count on, okay, at X amount, at this time, this episode's coming out. I know I can listen to it in the morning or whatever. I want to make sure it's done, because I get so frustrated at guys that you're invested in their show, and it doesn't come out till one week. It'll come out on Thursday. The next week it comes out on Sunday if they get time. And it's like, okay, I'm invested. I'm spending my time to listen, and you can't, I understand things happen, but when it's something that you're doing every week, make sure you have enough in the bank to support it. Yeah,
Spotify is the one that I don't put a whole lot on. I've just started doing it again. I mean, on here, I make sure that it's up and going every week, twice a week.
Yeah.
But other than that, we try to make sure that, we stick with the same days now compared to what we used to do.
Right. I think consistency.
And I think, being consistent. And if we're going to go off and just do one day, then we make sure that we lead up to that and just not drop it on people and be like, hey, we're just going to go to a week now. So just, making sure that you are letting your fans, your viewers know, like, hey, this is where we're going to be. This is why we're doing it. I think we did one on a weekend because that's when
the kid, Cody, he's a 16-year-old race car driver. And we did it on a weekend because, he does stuff for the car throughout the whole week, and then Saturday he raced, and I wanted to make sure that we got him before he started working on the car, so we did it on Sunday.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's so you work around your guests too if you really have to, or are you gonna do mostly pre-recorded stuff and then drop them?
Yeah.
So you're not gonna do any live stuff at all?
So there may be a time that I do. So I want to start being able to utilize YouTube into everything. And I don't think, because I want to be able to share, obviously some of the police reports and things like that. So I want to be able to do that through a live and talk about stuff like that. So once we get to a point, I'll either do it on YouTube or on Facebook, do a Facebook Live and kind of a question and answer type thing, and let people ask questions and talk through it.
Oh, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yep.
That
Yeah,
way
once
you can have it live and just have. I'm trying to work on a situation right now where we can get people to call in, so I'm going to try to figure that system out, or Mark will, because I think that being able to do a live show.
You have a son-in-law that knows this shit.
He hasn't learned how to do this yet. He doesn't want to spend that much time with us not paying him any more attention than what we already did.
Well, tell him he's got to sleep outside then.
It's not like I'm paying him, so.
Well, he lives in your house and he can do it.
Yeah.
Right? But
withhold food.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that because then I'll starve. I don't cook. So.
Oh.
I can tell you a way to make sure he does, but I'm not going to say that on here.
Oh, stop it.
But after you drop the, I'm going to let you drop a few of them, a podcast, and then I'd like to have you back on to talk about the case more.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to.
I think that would be great for us. And see, we already did it. We already talked about the nice stuff about you, so sorry, you gotta go back and watch this, the podcast over to see what we said.
Do what?
Casey's on. Casey's watching us.
Oh, goody.
Yep, he's gonna have to go back and listen to see if we said good things or bad thing about him.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just gonna tell you right now. Well, Robert, it has been an absolute pleasure, man, talking with you over this hour. Can you give us your socials where you want people to listen to you, where to find that show, and the name of the show? Just go over the whole. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Broken System podcast. It's going to be on all platforms. Apple, preferably. Give me some reviews once I start dropping some episodes. On Instagram, it's the Broken System podcast. And on Facebook, it's also the Broken System podcast. So we've got a discussion group in Facebook that we've started adding some people to that we will, hopefully talk about each episode and kind of delve into it and hopefully get some fan base growing.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we say goodnight?
Guys, I do appreciate it. I thank y'all for having me on, and y'all are doing great things. And I look forward to being back on again sometime.
Absolutely. We can't wait to have you, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Robert.
You have a good night.
Y'all too.
Wow, man, that's going to be a story to.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely have to watch that one first day that it drops.
Yeah, I know he was like, listen, without giving out too much, but I mean, holy cow, dude, like just the intro to the story, I think is just going to catch a lot of people's attention,
It
and
should.
they'll be like, well, hang on, let's listen in here for a second,
Now I want to go look stuff up about this guy, see what they put in there on, what they have out there.
You see what I mean? You're already getting hooked because you're already at that point. And that's what I'm saying. I think that this podcast is going to be really fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of people really need to go and tune in and see what you think. Give us your thought process.
Yep.
Because, yeah, absolutely a good podcast that I think is going to work out. Oh, man. Mark, are you okay?
Well,
Breathe over there, my friend.
Oh, no. I was looking at the phone for something else.
Upcoming show?
upcoming show, we are going to have some guy. His name is Anthony the Stallion. I'm gonna butcher his last fucking name. Just Anthony the Stallion.
Post it. We'll post it on the. We'll post it.
Yeah,
on the,
I'll send you the. You'll look at it and say, okay, okay.
Now this guy's gonna come on and beat your ass because he's a
former boxer.
That's right.
I believe he's still boxing, but he's also an actor, a director, stuff like that. So be interesting to see. And he'll be on here Tuesday, and then Thursday we have nothing. It's my wife's. I won't say how old she's gonna be. She says 21. I say older. And then this weekend I celebrate my 25th anniversary with her. So
perfect.
And then she leaves me for a week.
Stop it.
No, I'm not.
She going on vacation?
Yeah, she needs vacation from her husband and kids.
What? Where's she going?
Alabama, Tennessee. She's going to go look at some stuff that she wanted to look at last time that was closed down. So,
these houses that you keep posting that are for sale?
No. And
okay.
Trust me. I'm going to get me a house and get the fuck out of Florida, but that's still down the line.
Welcome to the Devil's Breath.
I know.
I mean, Florida. Sorry.
No, it's called Citrus County.
All right. Well, before we end the show, we want to thank the Deluxe Edition Network once again for having us talking shit on your network. We really appreciate it. And with that, we have 2 podcasts of the month, and they are
Barrel Age Flicks podcast and History I'd Like to Fuck.
Go check them all out, guys, over at the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
And while you're there, listen to a few other ones. I mean, you got Broken System podcast. Go check out just what he has for his intro. His it's going to be interesting.
That's right. All right, Mark, I'm good.
Oh, I know you're
good. Good night. I'm tired.
All right. I'm going to let you guys go. You want to do the?
What am I doing?
Oh, the fuck if I know. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. You guys have a good night. This is Mark.
And I'm Brian.
And we'll see you later.